We are live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, and it's that time of the evening, one of my favorite time of the evenings, when we engage with you on matters that affect you, matters that affect your family, matters that affect your community. Tonight, Eskom in the spotlight. Why? Well, one, they need all the light they can get, right? And two, it's topical. A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. Control, if you will, our digital audience, please. It is good to have them on the program. The gang's all here. We're going to get their take in a short while. Eskom has a new leader, albeit an interim one. Caleb Kasim, there you see his face. He is the new man in charge, the chief executive officer, with immediate effect until further notice. What does this mean for Eskom? What does this mean for you and me? We did invite him to the program. We were told he has nothing to say and is not doing interviews at this stage. Okay, we'll keep trying because you need answers, right? He takes over from this man, Ruyter, who left following that telling interview he did with ETV's Annika Larsen, something that obviously jumped out straight away from that interview. Ruyter's rough estimate of the amount of money that gets stolen in Eskom every month is in a region of R1 billion, he says. R1 billion. So who's stealing the money? Short answer, we don't know at this stage, right? Why don't we know? Well, the answer to that could also be telling. We are still trying to get Ruyter to test some of his utterances. We also have our producer, Maki Ketamaklabe, live for us. He's with some students from the University of Johannesburg as well as Wits University. So stand by. There you see them. They're going to get their take in a short while. Look, that's what it's all about. It's Topical is all about giving a voice to the people, you, on the national importance issues, live and direct, which leads us to the question of the week. And we're asking you, what do you make of former Eskom CEO Ruyter's claim of widespread corruption at Eskom, but stopping short of naming the alleged culprits publicly? Let us know at its topic. Come, follow me. Do you accept or reject what Ruyter has said? Should he have named people publicly? Is it a case of making excuses one after the other, or is there merit to what he's saying? Perspective coming up. Now, time for your roundup. It was a case of so close yet so far. The Australian women's cricket team has won the 8th edition of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup to claim a record 6th title. The defending champions beat the South African women's cricket team by 19 runs in the final to win a 3rd successive title in Cape Town. After winning the toss and opting to bat, Australia reached 156 for the loss of 6 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. They then restricted the protest to 137 to seal a 19-run victory. Still, great achievement from the Proteas. Well done. All right, in other news, Alliance partners COSATU and the SACP have met with Cyril Ramaphosa regarding his imminent cabinet reshuffle. The president has been engaging and consulting various stakeholders on whom he should appoint or chop from his executive. Meanwhile, some South Africans say they expect the president to appoint competent ministers who will get the job done.
We discussed the principles with regard to the reshuffle. There are ongoing discussions, of course, within the alliance, but we are focusing on the performance of government and the principles underlying that. And later on, the president will then take into consideration our ideas regarding where we think we need to make interventions for his expression to the public based on his constitutional mandate.
In the next month, naming a cabinet, getting the right people in, getting that diesel gain, getting the Turkish ships going, and at least bring relief. That's what I expect. Otherwise, the country's finished. it's finished. We're going to have a total blackout. It's a nightmare. People are losing their jobs, businesses are going in. He's got to act, and I don't know, up to now it's been a total failure. So please, Cyril, do something.
To be honest, I think we should really get younger people in office because we can't have people from apartheid leading the newer generation. They don't really know what it's like to live in these times.
I expect everyone to be fired. They've been in there for a long time and they haven't really made anything to improve the life of the average individual South African.
Fresh blood, but effective ministers, because I don't believe the ministers that are there, they are the right people to be there. And then we can go forward with South Africa.
The beleaguered former Eskom CEO, Andre de Ruyter, was given 7 to 10 days to report corruption allegations supported with evidence that occurred at the ailing power utility or face legal action by the ANC. This after de Ruyter made claims in an interview that the governing party views Eskom as a feeding trough. The ANC says to date they are not aware of any case that was opened by de Ruyter, but says he is bound by law to report this matter to the authorities.
I'm going to write to him through our lawyers. He must prove within 10 or 7 days what he said. He's a lawyer, he can come, but we'll meet in court. I challenge him. He must name those people whom he say they are corrupt, and then he must deal with them.
The ANC is currently consulting its legal team concerning statements made by former Eskom CEO, Mr. de Ruyter, in which he made allegations of wrongdoing and criminality against the organization. Accordingly, we reiterate our call to Mr. de Ruyter to lay criminal charges with verifiable details about his serious allegations to allow law enforcement agencies to investigate and, where appropriate, to prosecute anyone who has a case to answer. This includes any ANC member or public representative who may have violated both the laws of the Republic as well as prescripts of the ANC Constitution and our oath of membership. To date, ANC is not aware of any action taken by Mr. de Ruyter to open a case. The ANC urges Mr. de Ruyter to fulfill his constitutional and legal obligations to officially report to the police any act of criminality and or illegality he is aware of within the next 7 days. Failure by Mr. de Ruyter to bring such information forward and report it in line with his obligations will result in ANC laying Section 34 charges against him.
Okay, that's where we leave the roundup, but that last story talks to the main topic tonight. Let's give you a voice, as we always do every week, and we reflect on the big stories of the week. So let's join the Word on the Street feature, which comes from Linden in Johannesburg. Take a look.
It's pretty clear that there's corruption and infrastructure problems and mismanagement. Well, where de Ruyter's responsibility lies, I have no idea, because the whole situation at Eskom is completely opaque.
It's very easy to divest your performance when you're not the one who's been performing. So ultimately, I think he's done us all a favor and just realized that he's just not the man for the job.
I believe Eskom has had about 10 CEOs in the past 10 years or so. So if you think that every individual, every CEO is a problem, then I think we have bigger problems. Because for me, if you have so much inconsistencies, you need to stop looking at the individuals. Maybe the problem is deeper than that. Maybe the problem is the system that all of those individuals operate within.
I just feel the ANC is doing nothing. They're taking the cash for themselves and they don't actually care about the people. And I think the only solution is for Eskom to be privatized, because once that's done, we will see change.
Politics is a dirty losing game. There's no perks for anyone. And actually, I think they took a page out of the colonials' books. And in the end, it is about luxury lives, poverty, starvation, and all kinds of societal ills. Let them eat pap. That's the ANC. Amen.
value your voice on this program. Let's give you a sense of what we know and why it matters. Context, always important. For that, we turn to the magic wall. And in particular, we want to talk about this interview that Ruyter has done, the utterances on the ETV interview. Some of his quotes. Take a look. When asked if Eskom is a feeding trough for the ANC, Ruyter says, evidence suggests that it is. He went on to say that he expressed his concern to a senior government minister about attempts, in his view, to water down governance around that $8.5 billion that they got at COP26. And the response he got, this is what he had to say, I quote, "You have to be pragmatic. In order to pursue the greater good, you have to enable some people to eat a little bit." And again, the criticism he's receiving, right, and the pushback to that statement is, why didn't he say something at the highest level at the time and not leave it until you're leaving Eskom? He also said, when they pointed out that there was one particular high-level politician that was involved in this, the minister in question looked at a senior official and said, and I'm quoting again, "I guess it was inevitable that it would come out anyway." He didn't want to say if the high-level politician was in cabinet. Should he have given us a name? He also mentioned that they know of at least 4 organized crime cartels operating in Eskom in Mpumalanga. Development since. Take a look. This is what happened since. You heard the ANC Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula. He said the governing party's lawyers would write to Ruyter to prove his claims within 7 to 10 days. Also, Eskom parted ways with Ruyter with immediate effect after that interview and appointed Caleb Kasim as the interim CEO. So, who is Caleb Kasim? Well, we know that he served as acting CFO from July 2017 and appointed as CFO in November 2018. Right? Over 20 years of service in Eskom, a registered chartered accountant. He also has a master's degree in business leadership. State of play, we will discuss. That just gives you the context. It sets up our discussion. But I want to first bring in our producer, Maki Ketl-Maklabe. He's live for us at the SABC's reception area here at Auckland Park with students from UJ and Wits University to get their take on the Eskom saga. Maki, good to see you this evening. Sentiment on the ground. Tell us more.
Yeah, good evening to you, Blaine. Yes, as you actually rightfully put it there in the intro, I mean, this is one story that has actually set tongues wagging, not only in the political sphere, but obviously within classrooms in the country. And as you mentioned, I've got students here from the University of Wits as well as University of Johannesburg, including the University of the Western Cape. And let's start with Asipile from the University of the Western Cape. You are a politics student. Talk to us. I mean, startling revelations by Andre de Ruyter, obviously implicating ANC in the corruption that we know of, we've actually read of or watched over and over again in the past years at Eskom. What's your take on this?
Thank you so much. My take on this, it's quite very tricky for Andre de Ruyter to only have these allegations just now when he was serving as the former the CEO of Eskom at the time, but he did not voice out his opinions on the claims. But also just thinking on the comments that were made by the ministers at the time, they would ask him to say, tell us the names, who are these people that you're having allegations on? I think that's something that we need to look at, as we need to know the names, because we already know that there is corruption within the governing party, but now we just need to know which people is he talking about.
Yeah. Are you one of those who are asking the question, why is he coming out now? Why is he saying these things now that he's about to leave, or he's already left, by the way?
Yes, definitely. I think that would be one alarming question that we all have. However, at the same time, I understand his take because, as the minister once said, that why is he just saying this now, and also why is he having his political affiliations within the Eskom, because it's different entities. However, I understood said at the time that it's impossible for him to separate the governing party within the Eskom, because the ministers that are part of the public enterprise and energy are part of the governing party, as well as the president is part of the governing party. That means that the decisions and the policies that they make within the Eskom, they have an influence to Eskom at large. So it's a very alarming question that we all ask ourselves right now, and only Andrew Ruyter has answers to that at this moment.
But what's your take? Do you agree with her?
I'm looking more at the notion of just the lack of protection there is for whistleblowers, and the fact that he didn't necessarily, talk about the people who made these allegations. But it's still important to note that, in making these allegations, his identity is not anonymous. So it's important to consider the fact that, especially in the political instability that we're living in, the violence that we are experiencing in our country, what danger does it put him to not only expose what's happening, but even the identities of what's happening, to cabinet ministers who feel strongly to say things like, oh, we should let those who need to eat, have their way, Yeah.
And you talk about whistleblowers. We saw those stories here in the country, whistleblowers being killed because they hold evidence against some of the, big institutions in the country. If you were in Andrew Ruyter's shoes at this stage, having made those, startling allegations, what would you be thinking?
The first would be obviously, the danger to the individual, but I feel like as someone who already has the bravery to speak on a matter that affects so many South Africans, it is something you find that he's also dealing with, just feelings of worry for the country, for the state of democracy and the quality of democracy that we're having. If I was to, speak about something that is of this magnitude and have it not get the attention and the response that it needs because it affects so many South Africans, I myself would be worried for something like the 2024 elections, whereby, so many South Africans now lose faith in the very same systems that are meant to uplift them and protect their rights.
Makaziwe, let's come to you. You are from the University of Johannesburg as well. The organization Undoing Tax Abuse calling on the ANC to take these allegations seriously. Do you think the governing party is doing its best to actually act?
Yes, because the president has spoken so many times on fighting corruption within the party and the state-owned enterprises included. For me, this one is quite questionable because as my friend has mentioned, that there could be a conflict of interest with the political party involved and the Eskom bodies itself. In this case, there might be a case of them protecting themselves for 2024 elections. They need to hold on to the little dignity that they have within the South African community at large. But also at the same time, they need to clear their name. They're looking out to clear their name. They've been marred by corruption, names, tags, since. So they are definitely looking to protect their name and also the dignity, but at the same time, at what cost? Because we see what is happening at Eskom, and we also do want accountability to end this trauma that we're living in.
Matthew, you are from the Wits University. Talk to us. ANC saying that the Ruyter has got 7 to 10 days to actually press charges against them, or they will take action against him. What's your view about that?
Well, I do think that it's meant to sort of degrade what he's trying to do. I do think that, as mentioned by one of these comrades over here, that he is indeed under a lot of pressure, and in fact he has a bounty on his head, and he alleges that he's already actually had a death threat or an attempt on his life. So I think that he's already under a lot of pressure. Now that he has left, I do think that he should name these people so that we know exactly who we're dealing with. But at the same time, I do think that they know what they're doing. They know that they are trying to belittle the accusations that he has come out with.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, there. Thanks so much indeed. Blaine, I mean, those are just some of the views from students here saying that they feel ANC needs to do something about these allegations, and that's exactly what Arta said. But we will actually be bringing you more views from the floor here. Back to you in studio for now.
Yeah, Matthew, they're using the word that has now become contentious with regards to that interview that De Ruyter did. Comrade, remember that De Ruyter says that the ghosts of Lenin and Marx actually haunt the Luthuli House, the halls of Luthuli House. Went on to say that the use of the word is embarrassing, saying that they're still holding on to the ideology of the 80s, and saying that it actually affects the credibility. This is Andre De Ruyter saying this. When we talk about the foreign diplomats as well as foreign investors that often hear this. Should he be playing in that field? Should he have mentioned that? Should he be delving into the issue of ideology, political ideology, as it relates to foreign investors? We shall discuss with the better minds. Maki Ketamotlabi, live for us there. Thank you very much indeed, sir. We're going to take a quick break. The allegation is widespread corruption in Eskom. We don't know names yet. Why don't we know names? Is there anything to it? We're going to bring the better minds, discussers, get your perspective on this issue. More next. All right, welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. It's a program that puts you, our viewers, at the center of discussion. We have the burning issue of the week. We're discussing Andre De Ruyter's utterances, some of the claims that he has made, put it out there in the public platform. Issue of widespread corruption, but not naming names at this stage. What do you make of it? We have the digital audience here with us. Let's get their better mind on the program. We've invited a number of political parties. Some may join during the course of the program. The issue, obviously, in many parts of the country is the issue of load shedding, but we shall inevitably endeavour to try and get as many voices as possible. Let's go to Gillian Benson from Action SA. Look, Gillian, Andre De Ruyter has had a rough time in terms of curbing rolling blackouts in this country, right? So from what you've heard in terms of what he has said publicly, is it basically excuses or is there merit to his claims?
Well, we took the Eskom and various ministers to court, and we've now received Andre De Ruyter's affidavit as well as that of the president.
Right.
And it does appear that since 1998, there is some merits to what he has said to us. Unfortunately, it's the first time we've had any explanation or detail. We've been told about the 5 basic pillars of why load shedding is occurring. It's sabotage, it's fraud. But now, for the first time, we actually have examples. For instance, one of the annexes to De Ruyter's affidavit spells out the situation with Chancellor House, where an amount of 5 million odd dollars were paid to Chancellor House that was meant to go to infrastructure for Eskom. So it seems that the problem is common cause. I don't think anybody denies it, and I think that the president affirms the allegations by Mr. De Ruyter. They're not in dispute by the ANC.
Caleb Kachalia, thanks, Julian. Caleb Kachalia from the Democratic Alliance, if you can unmute. The Eskom chairperson, Mpho Makwana, I heard him saying on a recent interview with 702, talking about De Ruyter's utterances. He said that he made those claims without tabling it before the board. In fact, he went on to say that 90% of what De Ruyter said, the board heard it for the first time. Why take that route? Why not approach the board and explain all these issues?
Well, we need to understand when that discussion took place and when the minister who's purported to say what he said, when that happened. Because when you are entrenched as a CEO in the company and your shareholder is the government who appoints the board, and let's be frank here, plays puppeteer with the board, then it's a very career-limiting move, to say the least, to to bring this to the attention of the shareholder, because it's the shareholder who is doing the malfeasance. So how do you do that? You've got your one hand tied behind your back anyway by the shareholder, and now you're expected to go and tell the shareholder, well, you said this and you said that, and this is unacceptable. Well, you know, he said it as he was leaving because he had a duty and he felt he could do it then. And I have no doubt that he will make those names public now. I mean, anyone with half a brain would be able to put two and two together and see who they are. And who he was talking to. And in any case, I mean, if you look, de Ruyter is not a man who is known to have uncircumspect utterances. But if you take somebody like the CEO of Intellidex, for example, Peter Attad Montalto, also a very measured man, and he said, you know, what are they jumping up and down about? This is common cause here. This is common cause that there is a rent extractive relationship between government and Eskom. And then, as Gillian points out, there's a 153-page affidavit coming from the Ruyter outlining and giving exact examples and of exactly what happened. Now, for goodness sake, I mean, it's there for everyone to see. Fikile Baluma has got no leg to stand on, and the board can jump up and down for all it wants.
Right.
It has been sad, a sad board who has not done what it's required to do.
A sad board, Utando, if you can unmute, it has not done what they're supposed to do. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that question again?
From what Mr. Kachali has said, a sad board that hasn't done what they're supposed to do. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. And firstly, good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I feel that, as the others have said before, that this was the perfect time for de Ruyter to actually speak up about what has happened. He has already resigned, and there was nothing else left to keep him there and keep him loyal to saying that these things have happened. So that's why he decided to come with it now. I think it's actually in his best interest to give out those names, since he has already made that bold move towards saying that things have been going wrong under his watch and while he was there.
Why not? Sorry, why not speak up? You know, when you in the midst of doing the job, when you come across these allegations, even if your shareholder is not listening, why don't go to the highest office? Go directly to the president. Wouldn't that be an option?
It seems like no one was willing to listen to him anyways. So why not speak now on your way out? At least you're doing the country that service to say that everyone can see already that something is happening. It would take a blind person sitting in load shedding to not see that something is happening at Eskom. But the fact that he was able to say boldly that, look, guys, there are actually politicians that are having some sort of corrupt movings in Eskom, and he is afraid to give up those names, but at this point, you might as well do so. You already made that bold step. You might as well take it further for the sake of serving your nation. Right. Would be regarded as a hero at this point.
Utando, thank you very much indeed. I just want to welcome our SABC2 viewers. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're talking about the utterances of the now, yes, left, Andre de Ruyter, CEO, former CEO of Eskom. What he had to say in that interview with regards to widespread corruption. The question we're asking you, what do you make of that statement? And what do you make of him stopping short of giving us the names? Do you think he should? What about speaking up earlier? Let us know at It's Topical SABC, our digital audience with us as well. We also got Chris Yellen. Chris Yellen is an energy expert. Chris, chime in with regards to what you make of that interview that Andre, gave to ETV. Those claims, also in particular with regards to the issue of the just energy transition and the pushback that he says he got.
Yeah, it was a very explosive interview. Far-reaching allegations of corruption, mismanagement, procurement irregularities, fraud, theft, malfeasance, etc. And really, you know, you asked the question, should he have reported it? Yes, of course he should have. And according to him, he did report it. He reported it to his superiors, the minister, reported it to the police, reported it to the authorities, but they apparently don't listen, and they certainly don't act. So this, you know, reflects, I think, very poorly on the political masters, the Department of Public Enterprise, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, the presidency, and many of his statements and claims appear not to have been acted upon.
All right. Speaking about public enterprises, Bloomberg recently ran a report saying that Pravin Gordhan accused Ruyter of spending too much time promoting a transition to green energy and paying inadequate attention to fixing its broken coal-burning plants. Agree or disagree?
Completely disagree. As far as I'm concerned, that's absolute nonsense. The move to a just transition to a decarbonized future is high on the priority of government and was spoken to by the president on many occasions. The problem really is that there is this dissonance between the president and a number of his ministers who are just don't seem to be on the same page. But the president has been absolutely clear about the need for a just transition, the need to decarbonize, the need to replace old, aging, poorly performing, intermittent coal-fired power stations with new, cleaner, healthier, lower cost options going forward. So I would suggest these claims by politicians acting in defensive mode are absolutely nonsense.
All right, Chris Yellen, stand by. Digital audience as well. We need to discuss this further. We're tearing apart what Andre de Ruyter has said, pros and cons. Does he make sense? Is it all excuses? Is there merit to his argument? Quick break, more next. Welcome back. Look, many South Africans are sick and tired of being sick and tired with regards to rolling blackouts, right? We need to get to a better place. You heard what Andre de Ruyter has said. You heard the pushback that he has been getting from across the political spectrum as well, in particular the ANC. We did, by the way, invite them on the program to get their take. They haven't showed up as yet. We will still pursue. But we have others, digital audience here as well. Let's get their take. We're going to run through the list. Bonga Nkosi, if you can unmute, University of Johannesburg. Look, part of Andre de Ruyter's legacy will be that of the worst power cuts in recent history, right? It's continuous of late. But what he said can't be ignored because it's serious allegations. How are you and your friends processing all of this?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. First and foremost, I'd like to express my detest for de Ruyter's use of political rhetoric to try and absolve himself of the fact that he dismally failed our country. He was given the opportunity to do better, and him coming to claiming that there was over 1 billion being siphoned per month, that he claims he reported it, but did not actually follow up and continue it. It's just an indication of poor leadership and proof that he's answering to a higher power, or in my take, from our take, white monopoly capital. I say this because it is illogical for us to think that this person was unaware or didn't have any influence or getting a share from over 1 billion being siphoned out of the country. If you are the captain of the ship and there is a leakage, it is your fault as the captain not to do something to address this issue. Furthermore, advocating for sustainable sources of energy while the state's primary source or our country's primary source of energy is coal is an indication of poor leadership and a conflict of interest. He did not capacitate us or provide an alternative how we are going to address this issue. There are over 300. Oh,
all right, Bonga Nkosi, you've got your point. Thank you very much indeed. Tina Kahle, jump in with regards to your take.
Yes, well, the change in internal administration or whistleblowing in Eskom serves no purpose fundamentally, because the collapse of South African state-owned enterprises is an issue of concern, from the debacle of Armsco to the recent developments in Eskom. Now, there are two common perspectives to the phenomenon facing South African parastatals. On one hand, we have right-wing policy-based politicians who advocate for the privatization of such companies so that these companies can be made oligopolies to benefit a few individuals. On the other hand, we have left-wing policy-based politicians who advocate that these companies must continue to be monopolies under government administration so that politicians will continue to benefit through employment and the tender premier system and cadre deployment policies. So South African state-owned enterprises will continue to collapse because businessmen, politicians, and politicians who are businessmen see these companies as a gaggle laying golden eggs at the expense of state dysfunction and the exploitation of taxpayers.
All right, Lena, thank you very much indeed. In Tatuwa, let's get your take from KZN.
I would like to agree with Ubongi Ngosi because when he made his during the interview, he actually didn't say, as an outcoming CEO, we expect you to actually tell us what are your successes? What did you do during your term in the office? What did you achieve exactly? He didn't actually do that. And also we have seen that over the few years he was in office, we have seen that he actually he wanted Eskom to be privatized. He actually advocated for privatization of Eskom. And one wonders, did he really want Eskom to succeed? Did he really want Eskom to did he really want to rebuild Eskom and its capacity to actually produce power? Oh. So those are the questions that actually crossed my mind. And also he says that Eskom is not fixable. The question is, was it not fixable when he actually entered the office, or is it after his leadership that Eskom was not fixable? When did he start not being fixable? Did he take the position knowing exactly that Eskom is not fixable?
All right, let's take Dwayne, David and Ryan in that order. Dwayne, first to you, Dwayne Fish.
Good evening and thank you for having me. I think we get distracted a lot of times in civil society organizations, among students. We're talking about the distractions, and which is important elements like white monopoly capitalism and all those things, and why is it coming up now, speaking now. So our main focus should be corruption is one of the challenges why Eskom is not operating or functioning. Shouldn't we now focus on that? And even now we have a lead of officials, two officials, political officials that are part of this, or one. So now it should be a focus of finding those. We get distracted by important elements and not focusing on the issue at hand. And I think that's the main problem of our country. We're now discussing why now, why not earlier, why didn't he do that? My point is he failed as a CEO. That's one of the points. He didn't supply enough coal for us to have electricity. That was one of his functions. But now the issue is he named one senior political figure that's involved in this corruption. And one way of fixing Eskom is fixing this corruption. Thank you.
All right, Dwayne, thank you very much. And David, to you, and then Ryan. David, to you first.
Right, I appreciate that. It's a very interesting viewpoint. Essentially, at this stage, we are seeing a dichotomy where we are either subscribing to one side or the other. The issue with this is that we are missing the nuance. There are a lot of factors to consider. Among them is the fact that there are criminal syndicates that are undercutting our actual supply of coal. There is the consideration of the high level of bureaucracy that is taking place at Eskom. Right now, our engagement is in the court of public opinion. And because of that, we're not addressing the nuance. And to adequately do that, we need to allow processes to play out in a formal manner, in the right structures, and with full transparency so that accountability can take place. And until such a time, we will not see this matter resolved.
Yeah, consistency, accountability, important. Ryan, just hang on, sir. I'm told I need to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our guests as well, get their final thoughts on this matter. More next. Welcome back. Look, this program is all about getting to that better place that we keep on talking about. We're talking about Eskom. How do we fix it? We got the better minds in the program here, getting perspective, very important. I would just want to go to Ryan first before I get back to Caleb and Gillian. Ryan, your take?
My belief, firstly, is that I think what we're doing with the Ruyter is we're applauding him, essentially, because we know corruption from high levels to the lower levels has been affecting South Africa for decades. And I think that what he's doing is incredibly admirable in bringing about that level of accountability that's been missing from high-level politicians and powerful people in the country. And I think that to do anything other than see the outcome of the investigation is to not give justice and accountability a voice. And I feel like we as the people need that and are missing that very much today. And so whether or not the allegations are true, I think that it definitely needs to be investigated and needs to be found out.
Ryan, thank you very much indeed. Caleb, back to you. With regards to what you heard from Andre de Ruyter saying what he said publicly, do you think it's going to make it even more difficult for Eskom to find a new CEO with the caliber they need in order to turn around Eskom?
Well, you can always get some muppet to come into the job. It's a poison chalice, to forgive the pun, but it's clear that the puppeteers want somebody there to do their bidding. And at that salary, you'll get anybody to do your bidding, but it won't solve the problem. The fact of the matter is plain. Had Machela Koko and Brian Molefe, had they signed the agreements and the contracts with the IPPs years ago, load shedding would not exist. Fact. And also understand that de Ruyter had dented debt and took a stab at dealing with corruption and sabotage, which has a symbiotic relationship. With one hand tied behind his back and no help from the shareholder, all they did was change boards like it was a game of checkers. And that led him to leave, never mind the fact that he was poisoned.
Chris, with regards to the job at hand, right, it is dual. You have to strike this balance between fixing the existing plants as well as introducing renewables. How on earth do you strike that balance given the current environment?
In the current environment, we are facing a very, very uncertain year ahead. In fact, what we're doing at the moment is shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. We've seen the departure of the head of the Just Transition Office late last year. We've seen the departure of 2 heads of generation. We've seen the resignation of Andre de Ruyter. The COO is leaving, at the end of March. The spokesperson of Eskom, Sikanati Manchansha, is leaving at the end of February. The CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, he's now the acting CEO, but his contract comes to an end in November this year. And probably, this acting position will be his last. So we're seeing an unprecedented change within Eskom as an organization, and this augurs a period of great uncertainty and danger for South Africa. All the plans for a just energy transition, the need to replace aging power plants with new power plants, and the need to fix the existing power plants and to bring customers to become part of the solution is at risk at the moment. And I fear that there may be a big step backwards ideologically in these circumstances, which will present immediate dangers for South Africa.
Well, just speaking about ideology and what de Ruyter said about, Lenin, Marxists, etc., does that really affect foreign investors when they're thinking about investing in a country like ours?
Yes, it does. And but as much, it's not just about talk. Talk is cheap. It's about actions, and it's about policy certainty. Actually, the thing that drives investment is things like policy certainty, regulatory certainty, pricing certainty. In other words, a predictable electricity price in the years ahead. If these things are not in place, we will miss out on investment in South Africa, and they will go to other places that are more certain and give investors a greater degree of confidence in the next 20 years.
All right. Gillian Benson, we're told that Eskom is too big to fail. We heard Andre de Ruyter saying that Eskom in its current state can't be returned to its former glory. How do us as South Africans digest this?
Well, this is a difficulty, and this is where I think people get so sidelined with race and with, issues of corporate governance and not understanding, how it works and how, as a director, you have a duty not to, basically throw your shareholder under the bus. These are complicated issues, but Eskom is in trouble. The government, the president himself under oath has confirmed this, and we need to understand that these are
Oops, it seems that we're losing Gillian. Gillian, I do apologize, we lost your connection. Let's just take a quick comment from Bridget. Bridget, before we go back to Makeketla Motlabe. Bridget?
Good evening. My comment, I think, I came in late, apologies. One, there's something that was stated by, I think it's Caleb. No, someone, the speaker before, the speaker from Action SA, stating that the problems at Eskom are due to Brian Malefe and Coco, and I feel that that's too simplistic, Caleb, because, pardon?
That was Caleb, yeah. Kuchalia, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. It's too simplistic. When they came in, load shedding had been happening already. Brian Malefe took over in 2015, 2016, that short period, and we did not experience load shedding during that time. And when he's been questioned on why we did not experience load shedding during that time, which is the task that he was given and he was able to achieve, and he left because of, corruption and all of those comments. But during his tenure, he was able to ensure that South Africans had electricity. So we need to then investigate why he was able to ensure that we had electricity. Right. Unlike now, they were able to provide electricity without the power stations we have. They didn't have Kuberg, they didn't have Madupi, but they were able to ensure that South Africa had electricity. Bridget. And the Ruyter had. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I got your point.
Yes.
Sorry, we have to be running out of time, but we've got your point. We do appreciate it. Digital audience as well, to my guests, Chris, Caleb, as well as Gillian. Unfortunately, Gillian, we lost your line. All the digital audience, thank you very much indeed for participating. Time never on our side. I want to take you back now to Makeketla Motlabe, live for us in Auckland Park, with some more views. There he is, his handsome face behind me. Go ahead, Make. You can just give us final comments.
Yeah, of course, Blaine. I mean, they have been watching the discussions here, the politics students, and I can see them still jotting down some notes, but I'm just going to quickly give them 30 seconds each just to wrap up for us. As a pillar, what's your take? You've been watching, and of course, just the way forward in terms of this discussion.
All right. I've been hearing the energy expert just saying that in South Africa, we are definitely going to miss out on investors that are going to have confidence in investing in our country. And I think that is so much true, considering that we were just downgraded not so long ago. So I think right now what's best for the governing party is for them to act based on the national interest and not to say we want to clear the name for the elections that are going to come. Right. Because I assume that we all, right now, the best thing that we want is electricity, and the way forward and to say what can we do on the new minister that is going to come. So national interest, keep it that way.
All right, so basically what I agree with is the things that have been put forward by the Action SA representative, Jill, that there is merit to what has been said, because this creates and facilitates a discussion for change. If anything, the timing is impeccable, because the nation needs to be exposed to what is said and what is done in the background, so that come 2024, they make an informed decision that will inform and benefit their livelihoods.
All right, Makaziwe.
Without condoning corruption, I do feel that the Eskom board and the new Eskom board and the governing party also need to act on their national interest for the country to serve electricity. I do also think that there should be, in the upcoming CEO, that we should look forward to a person who has merit and stands for whistleblowing, corruption, and end it there.
Matthew, repeat up for us, please.
I'll try. I think it was asked whether Andre de Ruyter really actually wanted Eskom to succeed. What was he doing all this time? I think he brought a point where he did try to report what was going on. He tried to work on it, but then the thing is, how do you actually do that when people are actually sabotaging, as he alleges? And I think also Jill from Action SA and the energy said exactly that. How are we going to get it back to the way it was before? I think I would like to just wrap up by saying that we can't really go exactly to how it was before, because before energy was used to provide for only 10% of the...
Sorry to interrupt you because of time, but we'll have more time as the days go on. I mean, this is a discussion that will keep going on, Blaine, but let's take it back to you in studio because of time.
All right, Marke, thank you very much indeed. Instructive, as always. Folks, you've got to jump, but here's my take. When you cut through the noise, leadership is about, among other things, consistency and accountability. Being accountable, key, right? Someone who is completely responsible for what they do and must be able to give a satisfactory reason for it. That's the dictionary's meaning. And for me, this applies to all those who are in a leadership position. There is no room for equivocation, especially when communicating a message that needs to resonate with a nation whose resolve is being tested every day through every stage of these rolling blackouts. This nation, it's a nation made up of critical thinkers and can often see the truth, even through all the darkness. So again, I say, don't take this electorate for granted. Don't ignore legitimate pain and frustration. And that's my take. If you missed anything, be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.